What is up, everyone? We're back again with another collaboration video. And today I've got Tony on the channel, Sinister Art and Movies. And today we're going to just be talking about our favourite gangster films. But before we get into all that, I'd just like to introduce Tony. Tony, how are you, my friend? And do you want to tell everyone a little bit about your channel and what you do over there?
Yeah, all right, Jordan. Thanks for having me on, mate. Yeah, my channel's just a lot about me movies. I've got a small collection. I like to show it off, and I also like to show off my artwork. I like to draw now and then, as you know yourself, and yeah, I just like to show off my artwork and my collection, and sometimes put my points across on some movies. That's about it, like. But it's a bit everywhere on the channel.
Yeah. I've watched your channel for a while now, since I started YouTube, mate. I really enjoy it. Your videos are great. And I can speak for Tony about his artwork because I actually bought a piece off him. Look at that. Look at that. I hope it's all in shot. That's the Joker, Joaquin Phoenix. Fantastic artist, Tony. You are brilliant at what you do, and I love your videos about movies as well, mate. And Tony has got a channel, obviously, which I'll leave the link down below. Go over there and subscribe to him, give him a bit of support. And he's also got an Instagram page for all his art and stuff, which I'll leave that down below as well if you want to go and check out his art and his drawings. Brilliant, brilliant artist. But today we're going to be talking about gangster movies, a bit of a genre that I love. Horror, and I love horror, but I'd say growing up all my life, I've loved gangster films, probably in a close second there, along with action movies. They're my three favourite genres, so I'm glad to be doing this video today. I haven't talked about gangster movies much on the channel, but would you say this is your favourite genre, Tony? I know you're into your horror as well.
It's my second. Horror has always been my favourite, but like mafia movies, true crime movies, stuff like that, they've always fascinated me. So yeah, I just love watching them. Like I said, the true crime stuff, I like to watch it, and then I also like to read up about it, and sometimes that just fascinates me.
Yeah, I can vouch for that, because one of the films that you're going to mention in a bit, I watched it for the first time because we were doing this video, and afterwards I was looking up everything about it. So I'm the same, mate. All right, well, we're going to pick 5 films each. I'm going to go first because Tony just said you go first, whatever. Doesn't really matter. And then Tony will pick a film, then I'll pick a film, and we'll just bounce back and forth, spend about 5 or 10 minutes on each movie. You know the gist, 10 movies in total. So I think a good one to start with, Tony, is going to be Scarface from Brian De Palma. Now, every man and his dog seen this movie, so I thought that would be a good popular one to start with. What a character Tony Montana is here. You see the story of him coming over to America with the American dream, and he just takes over the place, doesn't he? I done a collaboration video last week with John from Mondo Chillivic Movies, and we were talking about our best acting roles, and I did want to pick this one because he's just so good in the film, one of the best acting performances I've ever seen. But I did pick him in another movie, so I didn't pick him twice. But I really wanted to pick him in this because he is just an iconic character. It's an 80s movie, but even today you see posters of Tony Montana in memorabilia shops. He's a movie icon, a cinematic piece of history really was made here. And I just love this arc of him taking over. He starts working with this guy Frank, and next minute he's living in his house and he's took his wife off him and everything. And I should say at the start of the video, there will be spoilers here, but I will put something up at the start of the video. You've probably already seen it if you're watching. But there's just so many great moments in this film. Are you a fan of this one, Tony? I will talk about some of the moments in a minute, but what do you think of Scarface? Are you a fan?
I am a fan, mate, but I prefer Carlito's way actually to Scarface, but I do like Scarface. It's a proper rags to riches movie, innit? And
yeah,
he's crazy, innit? It's just what a character.
Yeah, you wouldn't like to meet him like in a dark alley, would you? I think John made a good point last week as well when we were talking about, he did bring this up. You wouldn't like to be around him, but you can't take your eyes off him. Basically, he's that, he's that in your face and stuff. And I just think it's a brilliant role. I mean, the accent he puts on and everything. Yeah. This has got a great 80s soundtrack. I mean, some great songs in here and stuff. I love that Push It to the Limit with the little montage of when he takes over. And there's so many great scenes, like I said, you got that shower scene where his friends just butchered in front of him with the chainsaw. And he's just like, okay, you tell this guy everything you need to know now, and he just says, fuck you. It's just like, oh my God, he's not scared of anything, is he? I just remember, yeah, and it's a total 80s film, isn't it? It's just got 80s vibes all over it. And I remember Vice City, the video game, took a lot of inspiration from this. There's lots of missions in that game based on this story. So, what I'd say, Tony, I think the more I watch this, though, I will admit I do think it's slightly overrated. The more I watch it, but it's still a great movie. Do you feel the same way about that, or?
Yeah, I'm glad you said that, mate. I've always felt like that. I mean, when I was at school and stuff, my mates had watching, go, it's the best gangster flick ever, and I was like, it's not. I personally think it's overrated. You know what I mean? I think it's because the whole, like, with his Say Hello to My Little Friend, there's so many iconic moments in that movie what stick out more than probably a lot of other gangster films. But the film as a whole, it's not. I think it's not as good as other films what we've got on the list. You know what I mean? But yeah. It is good. It is a great movie, but I totally agree. It is. I think it's slightly overrated.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I sort of went with this. I did say it's the popular one, but it is not the best on this list. However, I do think it's a solid 8 out of 10 film, helped along a lot by the performance of Al Pacino. I mean, to me, he's the best actor ever, in my opinion. And this is up there with his role in in a movie that we'll mention in a bit. But yeah, that's an iconic quote, that one, isn't it? Say hello to my little friend. Should have wrote that down, actually, but I totally forgot about that. That's the phrase everyone says when they're talking about Scarface. But I think you made a great point there, Tony. There are the iconic moments that everyone remembers, but it's a sort of a simple movie, really, isn't it? Simple story and stuff. But I do think it's still a very, very good film. And, I like Manny in this as well, his little sidekick who's got going on all the time. And, it shows towards the end of the film, like, you do not cross Tony Montana, because he warns him about his sister, goes get with his sister, and he just shoots him dead, basically. So you just don't cross this guy. The ending as well, he's just taking all these guys on with this big massive gun and stuff, and that guy just comes behind and shoots him. That's a bit of a weird moment. Yeah, I still think it's a very good film. What do you think about the remake that's meant to be coming? Are you looking forward to
that? I'm glad you said that, because I was going to say that myself. Isn't it supposed to be Leonardo Dicaprio?
There was talk of some actor that I haven't really heard of, but I hope it's Leonardo DiCaprio, because I think he'd do a good job. But your face tells me a different story there.
I thought, I read it was Leonardo DiCaprio, or was it? Who's the guy off Star Wars who plays Poe? Was it Isaac? What's his name?
Oscar Isaac.
Sorry, yeah. That's what I've read, but it was probably just rumours. But yeah, I'd like to see a remake, definitely. A reimagining, something like that.
Yeah. Be interesting to see. I mean, because this one has got 80s all over it. This would probably be set in the modern day, I'd imagine. I haven't seen the original. Have you?
Sorry, the
original one from 1930 or something.
Oh, I thought you were on about the one talking about then. I was like,
no, sorry.
Yeah, no, mate, never.
Well, that is coming to Blu-ray soon, actually, on the premium collection on HMV. I'll have to grab it. But that is Scarface anyway. Anything else to say on Scarface, Tony, or do you want to move on? Or
no, I'll just move on, mate. Yeah, happy with that.
All right. Well, what's your first pick that you're gonna go with then today?
I'm gonna go with my favourite movie of all time, Goodfellas.
Yeah, good place to start.
Yeah, it's just in my opinion, it's a masterpiece. Everything what Scorsese did with that movie is just incredible. From the way that, obviously, the direction he went with, the casting, the way it was shot, like the characters in it. He just got everything near enough spot on. And it's one of them true crime movies where I watched it as a young lad, and then I've read about it, I've read books on it, and he pretty much got it spot on. The lead character, Ray Liotta, I'm a bit thingy with because he, like Henry Hill, who he portrayed, they did say he was like a bit of a bullshitter, should I say? Do you know what I mean? So a lot they think a lot of Goodfellas is quite a lot of a lie because he had a lot to say in it, you know, with the casting and stuff. So I just think as a whole, oh, it's a great movie. Yeah, I just love the movie. Like, it's great.
Yeah, I went to see this at the cinema a couple of years ago actually, and I always loved the film, but that was my best experience watching it on the big screen because you just see the direction to its absolute fulfillment, and it's amazingly shot film. There's a scene where, you know, I think it's Ray Liotta and his Karen, is it? They're walking into the restaurant and the camera just follows them and he goes through the kitchen, beats all the cues, walks through and sits right at the front. And that's a great scene. It's my friend Mark's favourite scene of all time. The direction is spot on. The way he builds this movie scene to scene just builds a perfect story. I know what you're saying about Henry Hill there. My friend Kyle's read the book and stuff, and he just says he doesn't like him as a person. I can sort of see his point. Why? Like, I'm not condoning that he should grass on everyone, but they're gonna kill him. So what else can he do? Whether that's true or not, I don't know. But that's how it comes across in the film, to be honest. But I think the casting here is exceptional. The Joe Pesci, I think he won an Oscar for side. What's the Oscar? Supporting actor. He's absolutely unbelievable in this, isn't he? What do you think of Joe Pesci in this film? He's horrible, isn't he?
He's unbelievable. He's a psycho, isn't he? He just makes you. It's that one of my favourite scenes is where they're playing cards, and you know that scene where they're playing cards, and the night before it's like Spider comes over and he goes, "Can you get me a water?"
Yeah.
And he says something, and you know he just makes you feel uneasy, and he tells Tommy to go and fuck himself, you know what I mean? And then he shoots him in the foot, and then the next scene is the next night, and then he comes in and says something else, and he just blows him away, just like that. And then Robert De Niro's like, "What you do? What you do that for?" And then they're like, "You can dig the hole." He goes, I don't give a shit. I'll dig the hole. And you sat there and you're going, they're moaning about digging a hole. You know what I mean? It's just
fella's dead on the floor.
yeah, fella's dead, and they're like, I'm not digging. You can dig the hole. You know what I mean? You're like, and then Ray Liotta and Reel's just like, you've killed him. What the?
Yeah.
And he's like, Jimmy, Robert De Niro's character's like, yeah, you can dig the hole, you fucking lunatic, sort of thing. You know what I mean? You're like, he's just he's fantastic in it, but his character. The real life character who he plays, like Joe Pesci, I think in real life's about 5 foot or something, isn't he? So he is small, but his character in real life was actually like 6 foot, and he was well built. So I was shocked when I was like looking up like the real life characters, I was shocked to find that his name was like Tommy D. Simone in real life, and he was like, he said he was like 6 foot, 6'1", something like that, and he was a like cold-blooded killer, like he was a psychopath. But they used Pesci, obviously. All the casting seemed to me to be spot on if you look at the real life people. But Pesci was like not spot on, but he played the role fantastic.
Yeah, I didn't know that, Tony. Thanks for that little fun fact there. You learn something new every day, but it is interesting, that, isn't it? I mean, did he reckon, I don't know if Scorsese purposely done that. What do you think? I mean, to vice versa then, just give it a bit different, or did he just think Joe Pesci was the best for it? What do you reckon on that?
I think if you look at his past movies, like Scorsese likes to use certain actors who he probably can rely on. If you look at Raging Bull and some of his other early movies, he's using Joe Pesci and Robert De Niro in that. So he probably had that in mind to think, I'll use them because I can I can trust them as an actor. So he probably just thought like the role was fitting for Pesky. Probably like trust, something like that. I don't know.
Yeah. I think that's a very good point, actually. And you know what? I never even thought of that. Because he is in Raging Bull, isn't he? As good as Joe Pesci is in this one as well, so I think Robert De Niro is absolutely amazing as Jimmy Conway in this, because I think out of all the roles he's done, I think this is my favourite De Niro role. There's a moment in this movie where, you know, he's this Maury keeps asking him for money all the time, and he's starting to get a bit pissed off, isn't he? And he doesn't even do nothing. All he does is smoke a cigarette and look at him. But you know he's thinking about killing him. The music kicks in, and it's one of the coolest movie scenes of all time, in my opinion. And he didn't even do anything. All he done was smoke a cigarette and look at someone. And there's a very few actors in the world who can do that, and he just nailed that moment. And sometimes I just go back on YouTube and watch that. What do you think of De Niro in this? Then I think he's brilliant.
Yeah, totally agree with you, mate. That scene's iconic. I actually drew that a few years ago, like, and it's because I love that scene so much. And yeah, it's fantastic. You do know when that music kicks in. I think it's "Sunshine of Your Life" or something. That song. It's just when I first seen it, just the hairs on my neck stood up. I thought, yeah, there's nothing down for Maury there, like. But it's he's fantastic in it. And it is my favourite role of Robert De Niro as well. He's amazing in it. And just going back to when looking at the real life characters, he actually, especially when he's greying and stuff, and he's wearing the glasses, he does look a lot like him.
Right.
But they played this character down a lot in Goodfellas, because the real life Jimmy Conway, he was a mass murderer. He was nuts. He was worse than Tommy.
Right.
He was well known for like just being a cold-blooded killer himself, but it doesn't portray that really in this. It sort of seems to be like Joe Pesci doing all the dirty work. But yeah, he wouldn't think twice about putting a bullet in your head. And what I've read up about him, he was one nasty man, like.
I know I said at the start of the video, like yourself, I do look up most of the films, but this is one I've never really looked up, so I'm glad that you're feeding me all these facts, to be honest. But talking of iconic moments like that scene, there's so many funny moments in this film as well. I think he gets the balance between the seriousness and the actual comedic stuff. Like, it's like a black comedy, really, at times. I'm not saying the whole film is, but even the Maury moment where he's doing an advert and he goes, Maury's wigs never come off. He's jumping in the pool and everything, and the wig stays on. And De Niro runs up to him and strangles him because he wants his money, and his wig falls off. It's great. And you know what little quote I love in this as well, where Ray Liotta's naming everyone in the mafia, and he goes, "We've got Mickey Eyes and all," and he goes, "And we got Jimmy 2 times. You got his name because he says everything twice." He goes, "I'm gonna go get the papers. Get the papers." There's so many great moments, isn't it? I have got a bit, like, one other moment I want to mention as well is the restaurant scene. That is tense, like, with Billy Batts. I just love that scene. I think it's Joe Pesci. I actually one time in the movie got on his side here because I hate Billy Batts. I think that's a great scene, do you?
It's an amazing scene. I just love it when he comes back, and De Niro again. He's just like he's nodding his head and he's like, yeah, and he sees him, and then Henry locks the door, and you know what's coming, don't you? Yeah. But I find it funny the way De Niro's volleying him in the head. You know, like he's like, you know what I mean, don't you?
The little face he pulls.
But I know what you mean. So many funny moments, and that from when they kill Billy Batts to like that, from when they kill him in the restaurant or the bar, sorry, when they go to his mum's, and that scene, talking about funny scenes, and Tommy's mum's showing the picture of the grey-haired fella with one dog each side, and Robert De Niro goes, looks like someone we know, and he goes, oh, it is, and he's in the boot banging away, still alive, and you laugh your head off, don't you? And then you go and is it so many months later they have to dig him up? Tommy, it's Thingy's character, Tommy's digging up Joe Pesci, and he's saying to Henry Hill's balking, being sick, and he goes, what do you want, Henry? A leg or a wing?
That's what I mean. He just finds the balance perfectly, doesn't he? The dialogue is unbelievable. Now, I have got, for me, this is a 9.5 out of 10 film. I have got one little problem with it, and I don't know if you feel the same way, but I've never really got anyone who agreed with me on this. It's the last 20-25 minutes of this film. Now, I think it loses its charm a little bit. Now, I get why it does that, because the characters are sort of going on a downward slope. Henry Hill's starting to get, the police are onto him and stuff. So I get that. And he's become like a big cocaine addict and stuff like that. So I get why the vibe changes, but it just doesn't fit as a whole film for me, that last 20 minutes. Maybe it's just me, but even at the cinema when I was enjoying it that much, I thought, I hope this last 20 minutes I get on board with it a bit more. And it is actually a 10 out of 10 film. But for me, it's just that last 20 minutes. What do you think about that? Do you agree, or do you think it fits? And maybe I'm on my own there.
I think it fits because it's showing you that last act. It's showing you like how things have gone downhill for him, and obviously he's had the high life, hasn't he? And now he's being caught with what he was doing, and then obviously everything just goes downhill. So, but I do get where you're coming from, because the first, say, hour and a half. How long's the film on for? It's about 2.5 hours, isn't it?
I think, 2 hours 20 odd, I think. Yeah.
Something like that. So the first 2 hours, you've had all these great characters come in, but then they're all getting killed off or going to jail. And then I do get where you're coming from, like, but I think it does well to taper the film off. The last act. I think it's a 10 out of 10 for me anyway.
No, you know what, mate? It's probably me being picky there. I cannot. It's just the way I rate movies, really. I can see where you come. It's probably a testament to how good the first 2 hours is, actually, because it's just brilliant scene after brilliant scene after brilliant scene, and I just think it loses the tone a little bit, but it's probably meant to do that. However, I just feel like it feels a little bit detached. But that's just me. It's me being picky. But that is Goodfellas anyway. Anything else to say, Tony, or should we move on? We spent about 10 minutes on this one. Or is there anything else you want to say? Or
no, mate, we move on. Yeah, move on.
Yeah. I'm glad you picked that one, because if you didn't, I was going to pick it, because I've never, ever spoke about Goodfellas on the channel, I don't think. Maybe one video, I think. Okay, I'll move on now to... which should we go? Yeah, I'm going to go for... Not exactly like the movie we just mentioned. I don't know if it's a well, it is, I suppose, yeah. This is going to be a Quentin Tarantino film, and this is Reservoir Dogs. His first movie, his directorial debut, which is just unbelievable when you think about it. I don't think he had much budget to do this film, and it does actually show in the film, because most of it takes place in just the one location of the warehouse. But I think this is a really, really good heist movie without seeing the heist. And obviously, it does fit into this category, because you got the boss. I forgot his damn name now. The big fella. Can you remember his name? The baldy older fella.
I watched it last night.
Nice guy, Eddie's dad.
Nice guy, Eddie's son, innit? Dad.
Yeah. Joe. His name's Joe.
Jimmy. Joe
it is, yeah.
Oh,
so
Joe, yeah.
He got him. He was like in charge of this big crime organization, and I think it's a very, very clever film. It's very dialogue heavy, but that's what is amazing about it. Just the conversations we have. Like the movie opens up with a 20-minute conversation of just them around the table. Why Steve Buscemi doesn't tip waitresses, and you're sort of like, oh yeah, he's got a point there. And then as soon as Joe interrupts and just says, I paid for your breakfast, he just gives up dead easy and puts the money in. But great soundtrack, Tarantino all over it. So many great moments, which I'll mention in a minute. But what do you think of Reservoir Dogs, Tony? You're a fan of this one?
Absolutely love it. Watched it last night, me and the missus. She hasn't seen it for years. I haven't seen it for a couple of years, so it was nice to watch it. And it was nice to really delve into it last night for today. And yeah, and what you were saying there about the dialogue, we were speaking about that last night. And me missus even mentioned how good the dialogues are. The dialogue's incredible because they're telling the story just by having a conversation, and you're picking up at what's going on with the heist. When you were saying when they sat round the table, you know, just chatting normally, but you sort of getting to know the characters just by the way they're talking to each other, and I think it's just fantastic, and it's a refreshing thing when I first watch it that they didn't have to do loads of scenes and that's a bit character build. You just did it through dialogue. It's brilliant.
Yeah. Tarantino is just a master of dialogue, isn't he? Let's be honest. I mean, he just knows how to write a script. But I think there's, like the movies you just mentioned, you got Tony Montana, who's a very sinister character. You've got, you know, Joe Pesci's character, and in this you got Mr. Blonde, haven't you? I think it's a brilliant performance by I forgot his name.
Michael Madsen.
Michael Madsen. Oh God, my memory's going. But yeah, Michael Madsen is great in this film. He's very sinister. Yeah, I just love one of the moments in this where Mr. White says, "Look, we're gonna go find out this. What are you doing? Are you staying here? Because we're going down there." And he goes, "No one's going anywhere." He's in charge. You know from the dialogue, like you said, what's happening. He's massacred everyone in the jewelry store because they set the alarm off. And you can not forget the iconic ear cutting off moment. That is pretty grim. When the cop basically has got out of it because Mr. Orange shoots Mr. Blonde. And you're just like, yeah, that was a close one. Next minute, Ice Eddie comes in and just shoots him and goes, "This cop." It's just like, oh my God, there's no way out for that guy. But there's so many great conversational moments as well, like we said with the dialogue. You know, I like it when he's giving the names out and stuff. He goes, "Mr. Pink" to Steve Buscemi, and he's like, "Oh, fuming," and then Quentin Tarantino goes, "Oh, Mr. Brown, that sounds like a bit too close to Mr. Shit." But like, you sort of, when he says Mr. Brown, you sort of think that as well, and then Tarantino just comes out with it. But yeah, I just think it's a really, really good movie. For me, it's in my top 3 Tarantino films. But yeah, what do you think of the flashbacks in this film? I mean, it all takes place in the warehouse, but it does flash back as well to tell the story about characters as well. When Vincent Vega comes out of jail and stuff, I never really liked that when I first watched it, but the more I watch it now, I think that's actually a good little way of telling the story as well. I just think it's a perfectly put together movie, to be honest. What do you think the same, Tom?
I do, mate. I feel the same, yeah. Because I remember when I watched it when I was younger, and I didn't understand it. It was going back and forth, so you know, sort of peckered my head a bit. As I've got older and I've rewatched it, I love it. You know, it all makes sense. And it's when you're younger and you want to watch a film, you just want to see more shooting and violence, don't you? You're not really bothered about dialogue as a kid, but because I'm into movies and that now, as I'm older, you appreciate the way Tarantino done it. It's just absolutely fantastic film. Yeah, I agree with you, mate. Yeah,
I was to say, like, I'd always fast forward those moments till it just got to the warehouse scenes myself. But now I appreciate it a lot more. I just think it's a brilliant film. What a filmography that guy's got. In my opinion, best director ever. In my opinion, don't know where you drank him, so
top 3, mate, easily.
Yeah.
Man, yeah. I think man might be Scorsese. John Carpenter, and then probably I'd rank him on my 3rd. Like, definitely, he's brilliant.
Yeah. Sound all right. Anything else to say on this one, or should we move on? Or?
Well, I noticed something last night. You know, because it's all right with spoilers, yeah.
Yeah. Well, mate, yeah.
So, because it was Mr. Orange, who was the cop, undercover cop.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's just me, but I noticed that the beginning, the beginning credits and that were orange. And then there's a scene, right, where nice guy Eddie's driving to that warehouse where they are, and he's on the phone to his dad, and he's saying, "Oh, Mr. Blonde's shot up the fucking jewelry store, whatever, the bank, whatever they were doing, the heist they were doing." and he's got a cop in the back of his car, and he's on the phone. And as the camera came out, the car goes, and an orange balloon passes the car.
All right.
And you just think, when you think, is that Tarantino like letting us know that it's Mr. Orange all the time? That's who's the cop. Like, just clever little things like that. No, do you know what I mean?
Little bit of symbolism there in the background.
Yeah. I'd never noticed before, but last night I was like, there's a lot of orange in it. You know, don't know. Maybe it's just me, like, but I was just thinking with that balloon, the orange balloon, with that scene he was on about. I just think, yeah, maybe.
I think that's a great point, Tony. I've never actually noticed that, but next time I watch that film, mate, I will be looking out for that big time. So yeah, good point. Learn something else. You're a man of a lot of facts here, Tony. Okay, should we move on to your next one, mate? I think we've done Reservoir Dogs there, haven't we?
Yeah.
So what's your next one?
Should we go with a British one, mate? Rise of the Foot Soldier. Another true crime one.
Yeah, go on. Let's go for it.
Yeah, and it's just, I like Rise of the Foot Soldier. It's another true crime one. It's obviously at the end it's a who did it, and it still is to this day, innit? You know, I don't know if you've read up much about it, mate.
I have. This is one I looked up a lot. I've seen. Yeah. I wanted to. We'll get onto the characters in a minute, but there's a certain character in this I wanted to look up. But we'll get onto him in a second. But go on, just carry on.
Yeah, so it's just one of them. It's one of them movies, isn't it? Straight from the get go, you're just glued to the screen. I just think it's paced really good in that. I think with the characters and all that, I think it's great. The acting's good. Yeah, and the violence is like, I like a lot of gore in my films. I think the violence and the action's fantastic. The lead role, I forgot his name. He plays that's the one who plays Carlton Leach. He's fantastic in it. And Craig Fairbass is Pat Tate, and he's just horrible. You know, what a character. And I believe he was like that in real life as well. And then the other guy played Craig Rolfe. I'm not very good with these actors' names.
Roland Minuchin is the Craig character.
Yeah.
And Terry Stone is Tony Tucker.
Yeah. The only thing what made me laugh about Terry Stone is it's his wig. It's just crazy. But besides that, I just wasn't keen on his wig, like. But besides that, like, it's a really well paced movie, and the ending's fantastic. You know, it gives you the who done it. Yeah. You know, and the special effects are fantastic as well. But yeah, it's a good movie. Really enjoy it. Something I can watch a lot.
Yeah, I agree. It's a very rewatchable film. I've seen this film loads of times. I've got a bit of history with this. I read up on this when it first come out. The reviews were giving it like 1 star. I've even seen a turkey, you know, like turkey of the week that they used to give for the worst film of the week and stuff. And I was like, I'm not watching that. It must be terrible. I think there's a lot of gangster films coming out at the time. And the ex-girlfriend had an auntie-lent to the Blu-ray or DVD was it at the time. And I went, I'm not watching that of it, it's crap. And she said, oh, really? Because she said it's dead good. I went, oh, go on then, we'll just throw her on. And I was like, how did this get like a 1 out of 5 or a turkey? How? It's brilliant. I just, it's got a cool following now, hasn't it? It's like a bit of an independent film, wasn't it? And it's got a cool following now here in the UK. Because if you can tell by how many sequels it's got, there's actually a 5th film on the way now. They released a trailer the other week. Rise of the Foot Soldier Origins, it's called. Vinnie Jones is in it. But I just think this film's brilliant. Like, it's very realistic. There's, you know, it's a true story, like you said, and it tries to put that realism on screen. Ricky Harnett, like you said, brilliant performance. Don't know why he hasn't gone on to do anything else. I think he ended up in EastEnders. But I thought after this he was going to be in a lot more films. But for me, the big standout here is Craig Fairbrush. Now, he, again, was in EastEnders before this. He was just like some actor in the soap. But oh my God, he was terrifying. What a character he is, and even based the last two movies, 3 and 4, on his character solely, because he's that sinister, and you're just intimidated by him, aren't you? I mean, there's a moment where he goes in and just for a pizza place because they wouldn't give him the topping that he wants. Just slices the guy's face with a pizza cutter, and like you said, I've read up on this character in real life, and apparently every time he walked into a bar anywhere in Essex, everyone would just put the head down because everyone was that scared of him. But what I think, Tony, I think this is a bit of two stories, this film, because at the first half of the film, it's all Carlton Leach, it's all about his life and how he became this gangster sort of fella. He started off on the door, being a hooligan, football hooligan, then the doors, and then he moved into more, the big crime life. The second half of the film is all about those three that you mentioned, Tony Tucker, Craig Rolfe, and Pat Tate. And I just think the movie sort of moves away from Carlton Leach, but it still works for me. I like the way it tells two different stories. Do you think that's the case here?
Yeah, I like the way it moved away from him, because I really, even though I was interested in what he did, I still am more interested in what happened to them three, and I was really intrigued with their characters because obviously of what happened to them. But yeah, I just think it flowed nicely, and I was glad they did that.
Yeah, because I say, like, when the halfway point comes, when then characters come into it, you do feel like, as good as Ricky Harnett is, they sort of take over, and you do want to see what they're getting up to all the time, don't you? It's a weird little trio they've got there. I mean, that Craig just gets bullied all the time, doesn't he? Got good music as well. I think there's some good music in here for the time. There's that song Heaven Knows. It's like a very depressing song, but it fits the movie so well. But there's all like 90s club tunes in there and stuff. Do you know what I love about this show? Have you seen it where Carlton Leach just isn't into drugs at all, and this guy is selling ecstasy in the club, and he just goes up to him and looks at him and smiles at him, and he goes, "Put that away, or I'll put you away." Or put that out, or I'll put you out. And he goes, "Just have one." And he goes, "All right, fuck it, we'll put the rest away now." And he has one, and he's like, "That's already." "Yeah, I can't feel nothing. And he just goes, "Oh, I've got to go and dance here." And then he goes up to the drug dealer and hugs him. I think it's great. There's so many great moments in this show, and it is underrated. Well, not underrated, but unfairly criticised when it come out, I feel. So, and I think you made a good point with the ending. It's up to you to decide. You see the murders from three different angles. Very, very bloody scenes. There's blood all over that Range Rover, put it that way. What would you say, like, out of them three endings, what one do you think happened, or do you think it was something else?
I've always thought it was. I used to think it was the police just wanted rid, after the Leah Betts case. Because it was the ecstasy what killed her, and it was their batch or something. But I used to think it was the police did it to get rid of them, because they weren't nice, were they? Round where were they from? Essex, Redden, somewhere. But I just don't think it's them two haven't done it. I can't see them doing it when you watch it. I think it was either the police or I don't know, mate. There's a scene in it where they're in with the Canning Town cartel or something. Pat Tate owes them money. Yeah,
it's like them two brothers, isn't it? Are they from Amsterdam or something? He owes two brothers money anyway, doesn't he?
Yeah, it could have been. I think it could have been somebody way bigger than them. Do you reckon? Like, I read that Kenneth Noy might have done it. Kenny Noy, I don't know you heard of him.
Is he the road rage fella?
Yeah, but he's bad news. He was well in with like this cartel. But then it was only I watched it on the internet the other day in the news. It might have been even in the paper. Is it Nipper Ellis who they were after? Or always bullying him? The little Welsh guy in the movie.
Oh, yeah. His name's Joe in the film, isn't it?
Yeah.
Joe?
Well, yeah, they were saying his dad passed away, and he's turned round now and said, "Oh, it was me dad who blew them away."
Oh, yeah.
So that's come out in the news. So I don't know how true that is, but he's saying it now because his dad's passed away. So he's like, yo, it was me dad. He was sick of them bullying me, so he just went out and shot them with a shotgun.
All right, didn't know that one.
So I don't know. I don't know. It's one of them, innit?
Yeah.
But,
it's interesting. I think it's one of them cases that'll probably never come to fruition. Kind of like who killed Tupac, if you like. So that is Rise of the Foot Soldier. Anything else to say on that, Tony, or should we move on? Or
move on, mate. Yeah.
All right. I'm gonna go with a Johnny Depp film here, and I think it's my favourite Johnny Depp performance. Although you have mentioned another one, which we'll get to in a bit, which he was great in, and that is Blow. Now, this is Rise of the Foot Soldier. It's very, very rewatchable. It's a true story once again. I think nearly all these movies have mentioned the true stories. George Young is a character that he's doing bad in the film, but you can't help but like him and get attached to him. And you're watching him grow as this character and become into the big time, start doing deals with Pablo Escobar, the biggest drug dealer ever, arguably. And he just comes into the big time. There's a moment where they're on a boat and the boat is just full of money. They've got nowhere else to put it because they've got that much money. And you shouldn't be happy for him, but as a character in the film, he's a likable character. And when it all goes downhill for him in the third act, you sort of feel for him a little bit. And I know you shouldn't because he's a drug dealer at the end of the day. But I just think it's a brilliant performance by Johnny Depp. I really, really like him in this film. The way he narrates it, the way he acts in each scene. He's just very calm, very confident character, even when he's just seeing Pablo Escobar blow this guy's brains out, basically, and he has to go and speak to him. He's a bit shaken up at first, but he just goes, all right, okay. And then just goes over and does what he has to do. He's carrying drugs over through airports constantly. And I just think he's a very cool character in this. But I think it's got that rewatchability factor. I've seen this film many, many times. It's kind of one of the most fun movies on this list, if you get me. Are you a fan of Blow, Tony? I think you watched it the other night. Is that right?
I am. I haven't seen it for years, and I forgot how good it was. It's fantastic, and he is. And like you said, he's a likable character because he's not your typical drug dealer gangster, is he? He doesn't go around threatening or killing people. He just wants to make money. There's a scene where he says when he's a young boy to his dad, he says, I never want to be poor. I think that stuck with him, and he always wanted to just make money and be rich. I think that's one of the things what stuck with me when I watched it. But yeah, he just wants to make money. He wants to do something with his life. And yeah, it's a fantastic movie. And he's like more of a businessman, and like I said, he's not like a gangster or a murderer or anything. That's why he's likable, I think.
Yeah, he's a smart character in this. Like, he doesn't have to be in everyone's face and stuff. He thinks with his brain, basically. And the moment where he's in the crime school, well, not the crime school, but he refers to the prison as a crime school, doesn't he? He goes, I got caught with this much amount of weed, and they all just take notice of him. And he goes, they're all like ripping him at first, aren't they? Because he's like being the prison guard's pet. But he sort of sit up and take notice because he's the real deal. He knows how to get drugs across the country, and then obviously in that prison he learns even more from the other character. What's his name? The other character.
He's Pablo Escobar's like right hand man or something, isn't he?
No, I mean the character he meets in jail. He gets in touch with Pablo Escobar, but I forgot the guy's name. I'm really sorry, but he meets him in jail anyway and teams up with him and starts selling cocaine and stuff, and that's where he becomes even smarter, really, doesn't he? And yeah, it's like he's like a little marijuana dealer at the start, and then grows into the biggest cocaine dealer out there. So I think it's a great story. I've looked up all the true, George Young, looked him up. I think he's still in prison right now, if I remember correctly. And there's a moment towards the end of the film where, all the way through the film, when his daughter's born, all he cares about is his daughter and giving her a good life, and he makes a promise to her. and you know deep down from Johnny Depp's character that he really does love his daughter, and he wants to do everything he can to make her sort of proud and, you know, give her a good life, because Penelope Cruz doesn't want to know him no more. And your heart breaks a little bit because his friends double cross him and he can't keep that promise to his daughter. And to this day, she still hasn't gone and seen him in jail, which is kind of sad, really, because you can tell in this film he really does have this love and affection for his daughter. Do you connect with George Young in this as well, Tony? Do you like him as a character in this, or do you think like he deserves what he got? I mean, I'm not saying he didn't deserve it, but do you think Johnny Depp portrays it that way, that you do like him?
Yeah, I relate to the end. I mean, when he had his daughter, because I've got a daughter myself, so it was quite touching, them scenes. I do get where you're coming from. I'd do anything for my daughter. My daughter's my life, so I related to that. Yeah, it was. He's a grown man. He shouldn't have done what he done, you know. But I felt like he was gullible as well. I don't know. He come across like he could be gullible, but he was greedy. He just wanted money, didn't he? But I suppose he was just led on by the wrong people as well. Because at the end, he's like, you know, he regrets everything because he'd rather just be with his daughter.
Yeah. You know what's weird about this as well? The director Ted Dem, is it? I think he might have been into cocaine himself, because he had a heart attack playing basketball and died, sadly, which is sad, obviously. But there's a lot of cocaine in the system, which is just a mad coincidence, really. I mean, he's making a big film about a cocaine dealer, and that happens to him, which is, it's sad, you know, rest in peace, Ted. But I'd just say this is probably my favourite Johnny Depp performance. So, like I've said, love the film a bit, and I know there's some people out there who have not seen Blow yet. I highly recommend that you watch it. Is there anything else to say on Blow, Tony, or should we move on?
I didn't realise Pee Wee Herman was in it.
Yeah, Pee Wee Herman is
he's the
one who gives them all the marijuana and stuff.
I just forgot about that. I was like, who else? Pee Wee? It's Paul Rubens or something, isn't it? Yeah, I was laughing my head off. It's mad seeing him
in the movie.
Yeah, it's mad seeing him in a different role.
Yeah, you wouldn't think he'd be a big drug dealer. Oh. You know what? Even when you're watching the film, no, you wouldn't think he would, because he's like a hairdresser, isn't he, and stuff. And he actually pulls this big bag of weed out from behind the counter. All right, then should we just? Oh yeah, I love it when he pulls the weed out as well, and Johnny Depp goes, "The fuck is that?" Goes, "It's your pot that you want." And he's just like, "It's more than we thought." But yeah, that is Blow. Brilliant film, really fun movie. Do you want to move on then, Tony, to your next one?
Yeah. What about the Godfather?
Let's go for it, mate.
It's just classic, innit? Just from start to finish. At the beginning bit where obviously he's talking to the Godfather about he wants him to do something for his daughter, and then it's just panning round Marlon Brando, and he's just sat there listening, and straight off the bat, you know, this is going to be an amazing movie. And for how long it's on for, I think it's on for like 2.5 hours. I think the pacing and everything to it is fantastic. I don't get bored at all with The Godfather. It's amazing. It doesn't even feel like it's on for 2.5 hours. It's like what I said earlier about Goodfellas, the casting and everything. It's just amazing.
Yeah, I agree. For me, the second best film ever made. I will maybe mention the first one in a minute. Maybe I won't. But it's a perfectly put together film. This is a 10 out of 10 for me. Great cast, great pacing, like you said. So many memorable moments. Al Pacino's best performance for me as Michael, just unbelievable. It's kind of a bit of a decoy, really, the Marlon Brando character, because it's based on him. But halfway through the film, he is not in the film no more, because he dies, and Michael takes over. And you always think Sonny's going to be the one taking over, but Michael ends up becoming the head of the family. And it's really about Michael, this movie. And he is still the Godfather, because that's what he becomes. And in the very last scene, someone kisses his hand and says, "Thank you, Godfather," to Michael. So it's basically about both of those. It's basically about Michael, but you think it's about Marlon Brando, but it's more Michael, I feel. But it's an expertly well-made movie. Pretty damn perfect. Yeah, and you've got the wedding scene for the first 45 minutes of this film. And it's kind of, I wouldn't say it's the same sort of style as Reservoir Dogs, but you're getting to know the characters, aren't you? I mean, it goes to Sonny, it goes to Marlon Brando's character, the Godfather, and then it goes to Michael. We even meet Fredo, the other brother, his daughter, Michael's sister. We get to meet her because she's the one getting married and stuff. And it's just, you get to meet all these characters and then the story develops. That's like a opening scene, if you like, for the whole movie. But I just think it's so well put together. And some of the moments in this film, like one of the most tense scenes I think I've ever seen in a movie is where Al Pacino is going to the restaurant with the police captain and that big drug dealer who Marlon Brando's character doesn't want to get on board with. You're just waiting for something to happen, and it does. What is there any memorable scenes in this film for you, Tony, that you really like?
Yeah, when Luca Brasi gets strangled, but his face is dead funny, innit? With his tongue out and that. But it's a great scene when and then the bit, obviously a classic bit where Sonny receives the package with the fish, says Luca Brasi sleeps with the fishes.
Yeah,
stuff like that. The bit where Michael goes to visit his dad at the hospital, and there's no one round, and he knows like they're coming out to kill him in the hospital, and the bakery guy comes in to pay his respects with flowers, and he says, "Just come and stand outside with me." And this guy his hands are shaking, but then you see Michael just take, I think, the gun, and he's just so calm and relaxed, and then like he's got the confidence there to, he's more calmer than Sonny. If Sonny would have been the took over his dad, it would have went to shit even more, the family. But you could see how calm and collective in that scene Michael is.
Yeah.
So it's a great scene just to see how calm he is.
Yeah. I agree with you. He's such a confident character in this. For me, it's probably the greatest story arc ever told in cinema history for me. From what he is at the start of this movie, he doesn't want to get into the family, doesn't want to be a part of it, to actually becoming the Godfather. And when I first watched this, I was like, I think the Corleone family aren't going to last here because everyone is against them. There's 5 other families who are just, want them out the picture, basically. And it's like, what is going to happen here? I think it's just going to, become nothing, this family. And next minute, within seconds, every single one of them leaders of that family are just taken out. And Michael, I don't think his dad would have done this, but Michael does it. And it's just like, oh my God, you sit up and take notice. It's just unbelievable. And he's another character you do not cross. It's like, he's got the look on his face, hasn't he? At the end, he's talking to his sister's boyfriend because he's been beating her up and stuff. And he's just like, look at me. And he's like, I can't. But at the start of the movie, he would have just laughed at Michael. But it's just, what he becomes in this movie is something else. It really is. Unbelievable story arc. But yeah, it's just a really, really, really good, solid movie. Love the score as well. Very, very memorable, theme tune it's got going on there. But anything else to say on The Godfather, Tony? Because there is something else we're going to mention. I'd just like to say the iconic moment in this movie as well, like most people remember, is the horse's head.
Oh, yeah.
I want your opinion on this, because I don't really know. Do you think Robert Duvall's character done that? Or do you think they got someone else in to do it? Because Robert Duvall is not involved in any of the dirty stuff, is he? But I'm pretty sure he's the only one who goes over unless someone else went over there with him.
I've never thought about it that way. I always just thought, I don't know. I've never thought, that's a good one now. I've never thought about it like that. You wouldn't think he'd be the type to cut a horse's head off.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know.
Go on, sorry.
Oh, yeah, I was going to say, maybe they fly someone over to cut the horse's head off. I mean, what's the time frame on it? Was it the next day? Was it?
I don't know. I think it might be that night. But he says to Robert Duvall at the start of the movie, I need you to go over there tonight. So I don't know if he's got fellas lined up to go on a plane with him or something, but you don't see them from what I remember. It's an interesting one to think about. But I think all the scenes we've just mentioned there, you know, the Luca Brasi thing, you know, the restaurant, the horse's head, basically. It's a proper mafia film, isn't it? I mean, it's got mafia's grubby fingerprints all over it, and that's just the ultimate mafia film, in my opinion. So should we move on to the next one, Tony, or anything else to say? Because this is sort of in connection with this film, and no prizes for guessing what I'm picking here. It is The Godfather 2. For me, the greatest movie of all time. It is close. I'm not going to say it's way better than The Godfather 1, because they do sort of come together to make one brilliant film. But for me, I just prefer this one a little bit more. And it is mainly down to one factor, and that is the Robert De Niro story going on. So this movie could have been a prequel altogether, and it still would have been amazing. If they just told the whole movie as Robert De Niro's character, it would have been amazing. If they told the whole story as Al Pacino's character and not included the prequel parts, it would have been amazing as well. However, they put them both together, and it just works so well. It kind of includes the Marlon Brando character in there because he dies in the first one, obviously. This is a great way to do that with Robert De Niro. I think he won an Oscar for, you know, supporting actor there. Michael is even more ruthless in this. But before I touch on a few more points, what do you think of The Godfather 2, Tony? Do you like this one, or you don't like it as much as the first? Or
I like it better than the first. It's
right.
one of my favourite movies. It's amazing. I just like you were saying, I just like the way that it's still telling the rise of Michael Corleone, and then at the same time, it's telling you the story of the rise of his father. I like the way they go side by side. So you've got two stories on the go. It's fantastic.
I like the way with the Marlon Brando character, the Robert De Niro character. He starts off really just by helping this woman because the landlord doesn't want her to have a cat in the house. And it just starts off with simple things like that, but it builds up to everyone coming towards him to help. And I just think it's a really good way of building the character. Very, very well constructed film. But the real star of this film, like, that's probably the thing that pushes me to this being a better film. But the real best thing about this film for me is, again, Al Pacino. I just think he's absolutely brilliant as Michael Corleone. There's, like I said, the way he looks at people in this movie. There's a scene at the start where this guy says, "I hate you and all your effing family, and I can't stand the sight of you, but, you know, I'll come and help you so we can, you know, look good together in front of the cameras, and you're going to make me a deal now, and I'm going to accept it, and we're going to move on with our lives, pretending that we like each other." And Michael just goes, "You can take my offer now if you want." And he just goes, "Go on," and he goes, "Nothing." So he just wants nothing to do with him, basically, and he won't have anyone pushing him around or telling him what to do. There's a moment where his wife says she's had an abortion and stuff, and he just flips. You know, you can see in the acting there is for everyone to see. You know, he just goes off the rails. But there's as much as I like Michael Corleone in this film, I think he does cross the line at the end of it. I just think he goes way too far. I don't agree with the choice he makes, and it's a very brave choice to make in this film because he is the antagonist, if you like, but you're sort of on board with what he's doing, and he's the one that you attach yourself to because he's the main star. But when he kills Fredo at the end of the movie, that for me is, even though Fredo has crossed him and everything, that for me just crossed the line a little bit too much there, and it made me sort of not like him, even though sort of you love to hate him, basically. And the film basically ends with a scene of Michael, after he's done all this bad stuff and everything, what he was before even The Godfather 1. They're just having dinner at the end of the movie, round the table, and Sonny's going, "Ah, my little brother Mike, look at you, you little dumb kid," and stuff, to what he is now. Like I said, the best character arc in any movie, or any two movies I've ever seen. Do you agree with that, Tony? Do you think Michael's as good in this movie? Do you think it's a great performance by Al Pacino? And where do you rank it as Al Pacino's performances?
I think it's his best one, The Godfather Two, because you like in The Godfather One, you see how like clean cut he is. He's in the army and stuff, isn't he? And obviously his dad doesn't want Michael nothing to do with the mafia, but then he obviously rises and takes over. And like you said, it's the expressions in his face. His acting's incredible. Just from the beginning of The Godfather, where he just looks normal and he doesn't look intimidating, to he's got like a proper death stare on him in The Godfather 2, especially with that scene where you were saying with I think his name was Mo Green, who was saying, "You're going to do an offer with me," and all that. And it's the way he's just looking at him with these dark eyes, and he's like, nothing. You know what I mean? You're like, yeah, he's scary in it. I think, yeah.
He is. He's very he's just one of character you love to watch, like Tony Montana, but you don't want to be around him, basically. I love it when he's saying to his sister as well, just leave this man, forget him, get him out your life, say goodbye to him. But the fella's just standing in the room listening to everything said. But yeah, brilliant performance from him and De Niro. To me, the greatest film of all time, in my opinion. I recently watched both of them, and it still hasn't changed. I do think they're very close together, but I just prefer the second one. I just think it's got that little bit more to it. Should we move on then, Tony, to another one of your picks? I think you've got two more, is it?
Yeah. Casino. It's basically Goodfellas in Las Vegas. That's what I think.
That's what I put down as well.
So yeah, it's just another great mafia movie. It's a long movie. But there is part of the movie where I felt like I was switching off a bit, because it is a long one, compared to like Goodfellas. If the pacing was great. I'm not saying the pacing isn't great with this one. It's just that there's certain parts where I thought it dragged on a bit. But Joe Pesci's like a very similar character to his Goodfellas role, where he's a stone cold psychopath in this. And then you've got Robert De Niro. He's like a genius in it. He plays with the betting scandals he does and that. So he's like Jewish, so he's not in the mafia because you have to be Italian. So like the mafia likes to use him to bring in lots of money from Las Vegas, scamming casinos. And then you've got his wife in it, Sharon Stone. For me, she's the standout. She's fantastic in it. It is a great movie. Yeah. What do you think of it?
I do like Casino. I've got to admit, I haven't watched this one for a while, but I do remember it. I've seen it quite a few times, and like you said, it is Goodfellas in Las Vegas, isn't it? Probably not as memorable, but it's still a solid film. Definitely 8.5, 9 out of 10 movie. Martin Scorsese sort of does what he does with Goodfellas, tries to, narrate, there's people narrating over it, building each scene. It's very quick scenes at times, but it just builds over. It's like kind of like a montage, if you get me. It's like 1 minute there, and then we'll go 1 minute here, 1 minute with these characters. Kind of like he does in Goodfellas, but I think he does it really well. And yeah, great cast again. And like you said, it goes back to him trusting these Robert De Niro, Joe Pesci. He's used them again, and it pays off nearly every time, doesn't it? Sharon Stone, like you said, is a new addition. I don't know if he's used it before in his movies before this, but she was a great character. I really did not like her in the end. She was just a pain in the ass because she's getting in the way of these two friends, basically, Joe Pesci and Robert De Niro, with a sort of irresistible looks, let's be honest. But it's a really good film. I always remember the scene where, he catches someone in his casino cheating, and he basically drags him into the back room and hammers his hand in. He gets these guys to do it, and it's like, whoa, this is like a proper crime movie, this. But yeah, I think it's good. It's good to see Robert De Niro sort of rise, basically, of taking over these casinos and stuff like that. I think he might already own a casino, basically, but, he's starting to get involved with a lot of dirty people and stuff. The Billy Batts character's also in this. Obviously, it's not Billy Batts. It's the same actor, though. I forgot his name. I don't know if you can remember him, can you?
No, I can't remember his name in it.
Yeah. But he's a great character again. But sort of, I don't know if you. This is sort of him getting Joe Pesci back, but in a different universe. If you get me, because Joe Pesci's narrating in this movie, and you think, oh, he's gonna survive and stuff. Next minute he's hit with a bat, and then he stops narrating. I thought that was a good little touch. That the ending of this movie is horrible. It's so dark and horrible to watch. As bad as Joe Pesci is, you don't like seeing what happens to him. It's a horrible death scene. Do you know, like, what did you think of that death scene at the end? It's like a metal baseball bat, isn't it?
Yeah, he's actually got older 2 metal baseball bats instead of having one, and he obviously they kill his brother, don't they, Dominic?
Yeah.
And then he's got him down on his knees, going, "Watch him, you motherfucker," you know what I mean? You throw him in the shallow grave, and then you see, it's great the way it cuts, and then you see it whack him in the head, and the head open up with the blood and stuff, and then you see him still breathing in this with the mud over him and stuff. It's brutal. It's one of the most brutal scenes I've seen in a mafia movie. It is. There's a lot more violence than Goodfellas. There's some, like when he puts the Irish gangster fella or whatever, Joe Doggs or whatever, he puts his head in a vice. You know, remember that? Yeah. You make me pop your fucking eye out the vice, motherfucker. And his eye comes out. You know what I mean? It's like, it's crazy in this. Oh, the scene where they have to kill this, they have to get rid of this older woman. He just sneaks in with a little hat on and shoots her in the head.
Yeah.
And then he just grabs her head and puts it to the side and starts stroking her head. And you're like, what's he doing? And he just walks off. But it's just it's a very violent movie, and it's very gritty. But at the same time, it shows how glamorous their lifestyle is as well. Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah, it is. It's the mafia in Las Vegas. That's basically what it is, isn't it? It's good location. I like the way there's a lot of bright lights in the casinos and stuff. I love it, and that death scene at the end is horrendous. But it is definitely more violent than Goodfellas. I feel it's a very violent film.
Yeah,
I really want to rewatch this one. I've been talking to my fiance about it leading up to this video, and she said, "Oh, I'd really like to watch that," but we just didn't get round to it. So I haven't seen it for a while. I do apologise for that, but I'm looking forward to watching it again, especially with the moments you just mentioned. Just reminded me there. Great mafia film, fantastic Scorsese. His filmography is something else. He's made so many good films, and that is up there. Do you want to move on then, Tony, or should we? Anything else to say on Casino? Or
no, move on. Yeah.
Right. Okay. I think I'm on my last one now, aren't I? Is that right? Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, this is my last pick of the day, and this is another British gangster movie. Now, some of you probably haven't seen this one, but it's a pretty underrated film, I feel, and that is Gangster Number One. Now, Paul Bettany is the star of this, and this is sort of telling the same story. It's like the mafia in Britain, if you like. They're like the big. Well, there's 2 big crime lords of London, and it tells the story of one of them. Now, Paul Bettany in this film, a lot of people remember him nowadays as Vision from the MCU. So if you want to go and see a superhero be a bad guy, go and watch this one, because he is absolutely brutal in this film. It's just basically about him obsessed with taking over and becoming the big London mobster, basically. And he looks up to this guy in it called Freddie Mays all the way through the film. But eventually he wants what Freddie Mays has got to take over. And I just think it's a really good little, a good story. He's like a lot of characters in the movie. As we mentioned, a very sinister character. You're on edge. You're intimidated by him. There's a moment where he's planning on taking over, and he has killed this guy called Roland. And they all know that one of their men's gone missing, but they don't know who's done it. And they never think it was him who done it. But this one person who goes with them knows his name's Eddie. They're all saying who it could be in this room, and he just walks up to Eddie with like a sandwich and puts it in his mouth, as if to say, "Don't you dare say anything." But yeah, I really like this film. I think it's really underrated. What do you think of Gangster Number One, Tony?
So I'll admit, mate, I've not seen this for a long time, but when I did watch it, I enjoyed it. I think I've seen it once or twice, but it's it's about good 20 years old, that movie now, is it?
Yeah.
So
came out of nowhere.
I do want to rewatch it again, but Malcolm McDowell's in it as well, isn't he? Does he
Yeah,
play
well,
the older? Does he play the older version? Does
yeah,
he? That's
yeah,
what I remember. But
yeah,
I remember there's a scene where he's in a living room or something, and
yeah,
Paul Bettany doesn't he just like really just it's a bit like Reservoir Dogs where Mr. Blonde does he do something like that, doesn't he, in the living room, cuts him up
yeah.
or beats him up or something. It was brutal. Like I remember it being really bloody in that.
Yeah, there's when we said the two mobsters, he wants to be. It tells the story of one perspective. He's got the other mobster boss in his room, basically, and he basically tortures him to death. But you see it through the guy's called Lenny Taylor, who he's beaten up, and you just see it through Lenny Taylor's eyes, basically from a first-person point of view. You just see Paul Bettany's boots going into his face, things getting thrown at him, but it's all from his point of view. It's a horrific scene, to be honest. And then after he's killed him, Paul Bettany's character is just sitting there smoking a ciggy, full of blood and everything, and he's shaking because he's really beat this character up to death. He's like, look at you, just lying there like a piece of meat, talking to himself. He's crazy. Malcolm McDowell is in the movie, which is kind of weird because every character in this film, when they're older, it's the same character playing them, the same actor. But for him, he changed it to Malcolm McDowell for some reason. I don't know why, but every other character is played by the same one as when they're younger, which is kind of weird. But I think this has got a real good rewatchability factor to it. I used to watch this all the time when I was younger, and I definitely recommend it to people if they haven't seen it because it's pretty damn underrated. A lot of good dialogue as well. Malcolm McDowell tells the story from a narrated point of view. I really like it when films do that. Do you, Tony? When there's someone telling you the story. I mean, there's a few films in this that do that. Are you a fan of that? Because I always like watching films like that.
Yeah, definitely.
Mm.
It's like with when if they did some films, if they don't narrate in them, they probably could be big plot holes. So
Mm.
narrating helps with certain scenes. If you're certain characters and that, or where's that character gone now? But if they narrate this happened to so and so, it keeps you up to date with what's going on in the movie. So yeah, I do like that style. Especially Scorsese uses it a lot.
Yeah.
Obviously Tarantino doesn't. He uses dialogue, but he's like a master at it. But I'd say Scorsese's fantastic at narrating, getting someone to narrate on his movie, so it is good. I do like that.
Yeah. I mean, there's a character called Freddie Mays who he's looking up to all the way through the film, and I know you haven't seen it for a while, Tony. So but I always thought, is Paul Bettany like like does he like sort of romantically want to be with Freddie Mays because he's always looking at him in weird ways and stuff, and looking at his clothes, what he's wearing and stuff. And someone brought it up on a forum, and I was like, that could be true actually because he's just so obsessed with him and stuff. And at the end of the movie, Freddie Mays actually gets out of prison, and Freddie Mays is going, "That was all bullshit. What I was into when I was younger and stuff." And you can have my flat, and you can have all the stuff that you've inherited off me. I don't care. I don't want it. And he just loses his mind, and he's like, "But I've looked up to you all my life." And I always thought there was a little bit of a romantic story there, just the way Paul Bettany like looks at this character and stuff. I think it was just when someone brought it up in a forum. I don't know if you can remember that. Do you agree with that, or you can't remember?
I can't remember, but I'm probably gonna order the Blu-ray now, and I'm gonna have to rewatch it, and
Yeah,
I'll definitely give me my thoughts on it, mate.
yeah. No worries. All right. Well, we'll move on from Gangster Number One. Definitely watch it, guys, if you haven't. It's a really good, underrated gangster film. So, all right, Tony, do you want to go with your last pick? Or
Yeah, my last pick was Black Mass.
yeah, I
Uh,
watched this because you picked it the other day. Go ahead, feel free to carry on.
yeah, it's Black Mass. It's starring Johnny Depp, and it's a true story about Whitey Bulger, James Whitey Bulger, and it's set about the Irish Mafia, the Winter Hill Gang, and it's set in Boston, in obviously in the United States, and basically Johnny Depp plays, like I said, Whitey Bulger, and he's a ruthless Irish gangster with the Winter Hill Gang, and I just think, to me, in my opinion, I think that's Johnny Depp's best performance because the way he looks on camera, the way they did his, with the makeup and stuff. He just looks intimidating. He looks spot on. He looks like near enough exactly like him, and he's just brutal in it. He's horrible in it. And the casting's great as well. Jesse Plemons is in it. I think he's brilliant in it. And it's very, very brutal, gory, gritty, and it's just another one of them movies what I really liked and delved into. I've read a lot about the Winter Hill Gang, and even when he tried to take on the Italian mafia as well, and even in it he's an informant and stuff, and all that was true. And I just think I do think the movie nailed certain parts of this story. What do you think of it?
I loved it, mate. I was fully going into this expecting another Johnny Depp blow type performance because I've watched that movie so many times, and I thought, oh, another gangster film with Johnny Depp, this will be good. Because I wish Johnny Depp would do more of these, to be honest, because he is absolutely brilliant in this movie, and he was the total opposite to the blow character. Right, he's doing the same sort of things, but he's so sinister in this movie. I was quite scared of him. I think the blue eyes help. Do you recognise how blue his eyes are in this film? They kind of make him look really terrifying. And there's a moment like later on where he's starting to get a little bit paranoid, and there's like he's in with these two cops, isn't he? These two FBI fellas, and he goes, "How did you make this steak?" to one of the FBI fellas, and he goes, "Family secret," and he goes, "Oh, all right then." And he goes, "Go on, just tell me." And he goes, "All right, I'll tell you." Tells him how to make it, and he goes, "You give that up so easily. You said that was a family secret, and you just told me like that." And I was like, could not take my eyes off the screen. I was like, what's he gonna do here? He's just so intimidating. He's brutal. He's a horrible man. Just kill. Like there's a moment where he strangles some young girl in this. It's horrible to watch. Johnny Depp is a scary man in this movie. I thought he was so good. The only problem I had with it, I thought it could have been a little bit constructed better, the story. Sometimes I was getting a little bit lost. I think on rewatch I wouldn't. I think I'd get it more, just because some things did move a little bit fast for me. But I did enjoy it. I thought it was really, really good. But Johnny Depp is definitely the standout here. Thought he was brilliant. Like you said, good cast as well. Benedict Cumberbatch is in there. Joel Edgerton. Kevin Bacon's in there. And like you, I looked up this Whitey Bulger character after the movie, and I was fascinated by it. But apparently the movie doesn't do the whole story justice because there's so much more to it. There's so many bad things that he'd done. But I was fascinated by it. Thought it was great. It's a really, really good film, really.
Yeah, it's brilliant, mate. And the couple of the things you were saying there, I was going to say myself as well. That scene at the table, absolutely, like, it's horrible, isn't it? And especially when he strangles that poor girl. But it's still going on about this story. I don't know if you ever seen another Scorsese film called The Departed.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I don't know, you might know, but that's loosely based on Whitey Bulger as well. So if anyone's watching this, it's like that tells a good story about it as well, with the corrupt coppers and what's his face he plays Whitey Bulger. God, mine's gone blank now.
I haven't seen The Departed for a long time. I can't help you there.
Yeah. Well,
not Jack Nicholson, is it?
Jack Nicholson, yeah. I've got to forget that. But yeah, that tells the story of it as well. And but that's quite loosely based because they actually don't name. He does Jack Nicholson in. It's not called Whitey Bulger, but it's loosely based. But it's a really good Scorsese gangster flick. So I'd recommend that as well. Gives you a bit more of an insight how he was as well. But going back to Black Mass, I just think it's a fantastic movie. I think it's underrated myself. I think it's I think it's great.
I do. I think it's underrated. I think more people should watch this. Just mainly for Johnny Depp, but it is a good story as well. Really, really, interesting. I was not baffled, but I was surprised at Joel Edgerton's character at the end of the movie. Spoilers here. If you want to fast forward 10 seconds, gets like 40 years in prison. I was like, oh my God, he's an ex-FBI agent, gets 40 years, man. They weren't messing around there. I remember looking up the FBI Most Wanted list. You know, when the internet first came about and you got a PC when you were younger and stuff like that. I remember looking up the FBI Most Wanted list because I think it was just after 9/11 or something. I thought, I wonder who's on there with Bin Laden. And actually, James Whitey Bulger was in the #1 spot and Bin Laden was second. Because you were just after them for ages, weren't they? But yeah, brutal movie, great gangster movie, underrated. Anything else to say on Black Mass, Tony? Or
No, that's it, mate.
Yeah,
that's it.
All right. Yeah, all right. Well, that is our 10 gangster films that we picked. So I wouldn't say they were the best 5 gangster films I've ever seen that I picked. They're just 5 good ones that I feel everyone should watch. I recommend all these movies. They're all great. Great to talk some gangster flicks, Tony. Thanks so much for coming onto the channel, my friend. I hope you enjoyed it. Did you have a good time?
Yeah, it's brilliant, mate. Thanks for inviting me on. Really appreciate it. And it was good just chilling out and chatting some gangster flicks, mate. Nice one.
No worries, mate. You want to come on again, we'll do it again. If you want to leave comments underneath about any of these gangster films, I will reply to every single one of you, I promise. Don't forget to get over to Tony's YouTube channel and his Instagram. You know, his art Instagram there, which I'll leave both links down below. If you want to see more of Tony, let me know underneath. He's a big horror fan, so I'm thinking maybe one day we could do the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise or something like that if you wanted to, mate. Just go over all them films or whatever. But thanks so much, everyone. Take it all easy. I'll see you all on the next video.